Hey, I'm Jeremy. Welcome back to Rugby Informer. This week we're doing another boot watch, having a closer look at some of the gear and particularly the boots that some of the world's best players are wearing. This week is a boot you've probably seen on some of the biggest stars in the world at the moment. Antoine Dupont, Sia Kolisi, Juan Marcruz Malia, Romain Intermac, Peter Steph Dutoy. All the big names are wearing them, and that is the Adidas RS15. Now, the Adidas RS15 has basically become the go-to boot for most rugby players. It's actually a rugby-specific boot built by Adidas. It's not just a steel stud version of an Adidas Predator or Nike Mercurial Vapor, which are more than suitable for playing rugby in, and basically any SG outsole, which is the soft ground outsole, steel studs, is more than suitable for any wet weather, most decent pitches. It's more than fine. But there's obviously a need for a rugby-specific boot, and that's what Adidas has been working on with their rugby line. So just for a little backstory with Adidas rugby boots, there obviously is the Adidas Rugby Predators that Dan Carter and the likes have worn over the years. In more recent years, they came up with the Adidas RS7, which was a very popular boot in the early 2010s to the mid-2010s. You saw the likes of Habana, Quake Cooper, Joe Rokothoko. Basically everyone was wearing them. They were an absolute hit. Amateur rugby players loved them. They were light, good traction, very soft, also very protective, great boot. And then they kind of got phased out for a couple of years. The Adidas RS7 made a comeback and was, again, very extremely popular. A lot of the Sevens players were wearing them. Most of the rugby players around the world were wearing them. The All Blacks had their own version of it. And parallel to it, Adidas was working on the Adidas Malice, which was a more of a kicking orientated rugby boot, had a lot of grip elements and more padded experience to give kickers and outside backs a bit more protection when they were kicking the ball or running. And this past year, Adidas just decided to kind of merge the RS7, which was kind of becoming a backline, speedier, lighter boot, with the Adidas Malice, which was more of a kicking boot. And they came up with the Adidas RS15. It's kind of a hybrid of both of them. So it's pretty light, even in its SG format. There is an FG version with plastic molded studs also, which is even lighter. But it's got a lot of grip elements on the front, not as gnarly as something like you've seen on the Malice in years gone by with the little spikes. You also get a very soft upper that molds to your foot the more you wear it. The break-in time of these is very, very minimal. And it's built on an outsole that was popularized by Adidas with their Speed Portal football boots. This is not an entirely unique outsole. It's got a plastic heel counter, pretty comfortable, pretty light. So that's pretty cool. It's got a combination of some bladed studs to complement the steel studs. And on the FG version, it's all blades. Now, an interesting thing about them, there are 4 versions of the RS15 you can buy. The standard RS15, the RS15 Elite, the RS15 Ultimate, and the RS15 Pro. Now, there are 2 versions of the top-end boot, the RS15 Pro and the RS15 Ultimate. The RS15 Ultimate is made of a synthetic upper, whereas the RS15 Pro is actually made of a leather upper. Now, these 2 boots look exactly the same. It's almost impossible to distinguish between the 2. But obviously, if you want to go for more of a leather, plush, old-school Predator feel, you go for the RS15 Pro. If you want more of a synthetic, a little bit lighter, a little bit more durable in wet weather, the Ultimate's probably the way to go. Now, on feet, they're very comfortable. They've got that speed boot feel to them, but they are a little bit thicker and a little bit more padded and chunky than probably some of the other boots on the market. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. In a game like rugby, you're getting kind of stomped on a lot, taking a few knocks, things like that, especially if you're kicking. You want a boot that gives a lot of stability and feels a bit more secure on your foot. So the RS15 manages to do that, which is fantastic, while still feeling responsive and agile to help you with your running. It's a great boot that kind of delivers a little bit of both for someone who's like a more of an outrunning fly half or an outside back or even a loose forward who likes to get around the field a lot. Now, obviously with running, there's a lot of stomping around and running around on the field, racking up some kilometers. So it's got a really soft insole in them, much thicker than you probably find on most football boots, which just helps with a bit of impact absorption with your heel as you're going around the field, making tackles, things like that, jumping on a line out, jumping to catch a ball. I think Adidas have done a good job to kind of customize existing elements from other boots and adding a little bit of a rugby twist to them so that they're more made for comfort, protection, durability, and kicking where need be. It's a fantastic boot, definitely worth checking out. There's some really cool colorways at the moment. There's a brand new kind of fiery red colorway that's come out. You'll see it on the feet of some players at the moment. Beauden Barrett recently wore them in the last round of the Champions Cup. But a fantastic boot. While the Adidas Rugby line isn't as deep and wide as something like their football line, they're making some really, really good stuff. So definitely check it out if you are looking for a new pair of boots this season. But what do you think of the Adidas RS15? Have you worn a pair? Have you tried the Ultimates or the Pros? What are your thoughts on them? What do you think of the design of them? Please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the rugby boots that are out at the moment. And if there's anything you want us to check out, please comment down below and let us know, and I can try and get my hands on them. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.